RB Sigma. I appreciate everybody coming, especially appreciate Secretary LaRose coming, Chairman Fellows, Congressman Dave Joyce, thank you very much. I want to give everybody who's not familiar with RB Sigma just a brief overview. We started 5 years ago. Our core business at that time was strategic supply chain management and continuous improvement, teaching Lean Six Sigma to companies that wanted to improve their processes. Before the pandemic, we were one of the first companies in the state to actually bring Lean Six Sigma to secondary education, educating school districts on how to be more efficient. So when the pandemic started, several companies reached out to us and said, can you help us source these critical PPEs? The answer was yes, we can help source them. They asked us to acquire them, and that's how we started supplying PPEs to the state of Ohio. Since March, we've supplied over 24 million PPEs to the state, to the country. And in April, we chartered an Antonov 124, which is the world's second largest cargo jet. We brought that into Rickenbacker with millions of PPEs for the state. And at that same time in April, we decided that for us to be a value-added supplier to the state and to the country, we had to step up and get away from our dependency from China. What we learned in April trying to bring in this airplane was that every step of the way there's a challenge. How do you remove those challenges? By making yourself more independent. That's when we decided to acquire 2 N95 machines, 1 surgical mask machine. We could have bought them from China and we would have paid a lot less. But we looked north to our Michigan partners and we bought the machines from another domestic company in the United States. Since that time, we've hired 42 people, the best people in this state to run these machines. And I couldn't be more proud of my team. And so, thank you. Since the machines arrived, we were generously awarded the Retooling and Reshoring Grant through the CARES Act, which Congressman Joyce was very much responsible for helping push that through. We received a grant that allowed us to buy a 4th machine, which is another surgical mask machine. Our current monthly capacity is 7.5 million masks a month. The acquisition of the 4th machine will take us to about 11 million masks a month. Now, that sounds like a lot of masks, but during the pandemic, we really need more machines. So, you know, there are companies just like us that have stepped up in our area, in the Solon area, that have truly pivoted. And so we are really excited to announce our partnership with the Secretary's office today, and we are going to be donating 462,000 surgical masks for the November general election so that we're donating all these masks to make sure that all of these volunteers who are donating their time to the election are safe. And I know that there's a call for more people to donate their time, so I'm sure if you went to the Secretary of State's website, you can find out how you can sign up and register to be a part of that process. So with that, I would like to introduce Congressman Dave Joyce, and would like to thank Dave for everything that he's done on our behalf.
Thank you, Justin, and thank you for having me here today. And it's always a pleasure to be here with Secretary LaRose. Justin's way too shy about what and modest about what happened here. What happened was, as we all know, PPE was a shortage when the pandemic first struck. People were talking about having it, getting it. No, when this gentleman rented a plane and went over and had it brought back from China and then supplied the state of Ohio, I was amazed. And this warehouse was filled with boxes. And he said, I'm going to take the profit from this and buy these machines made in America to make sure that we're manufacturing our own goods. Because if we've learned anything from this pandemic is we can never rely on China and we must start manufacturing here at home. He's got a great team, and I see them all here. I think this is the American dream, that they took a problem and found a solution with no complaints. And you've done a tremendous job, and Justin, hats off to you. He was so generous at the time, I was explaining to him that our federal government response to the congressional office was 50 of these masks in 4 18-ounce bottles of Purell, and he walked right over to the shelf and handed me a box of masks and said, make sure your people are taken care of. And I thank you for that, and they thank you as well. I know that one of the most important duties we have, obviously, is to make sure that we have give everyone the opportunity so they can exercise their duty to vote. And I know our election is going to be safe and secure when you have a gentleman like Frank LaRose who's in charge of it. But of course, we have to make sure all the people who come in and vote, no matter how they do it, whether it's by absentee or a polling place, are also safe and can remain safe and healthy. And so this donation today will help Secretary LaRose, do the right thing, because he always does the right thing. And come November, we're going to be able to vote safely. It's going to be one of the most important of elections, and it's guaranteed that, thanks to the generosity of Justin, that the poll workers and everybody working for Frank and the people who are coming into the election facilities are all going to be safe. Thank you for being here. This is an American success story. God bless.
Congressman, thank you very much. Very kind words. I'm very, very honored to announce the 51st Secretary of State for Ohio. The Secretary is a graduate of The Ohio State University. He's married with 3 daughters. It was a Green Beret in the U.S. Army, and that really hits home with me because my grandfather was a Marine in World War II. He was part of a machine gun crew in Iwo Jima and Guadalcanal, and he was running ammunition day in and day out to keep that team moving. And so it was his role to supply his troops with PPE at that time, and I feel like it's our role and my company's role to do that now. So with that, I'd like to introduce Secretary of State Frank LaRose. Thank you.
Well, Justin, that Marine, your grandfather's very proud of you because the work that he was doing to keep his Marines supplied with the things they needed to stay alive, you're carrying that work on by keeping Ohioans supplied with the things that they need to stay alive. And so thank you so much for doing that. Senator John Eklund, my dear friend, thank you for being here. Congressman Dave Joyce, really appreciate it. I'm going to introduce you to Dale Fellows in just a minute. We got a great gathering here. My friend Jason Williger, who's a community leader and running for office this year himself. What we're here today to announce is this generous donation. But as Justin was saying, what's done here is really the work of these skilled people back here, these Ohioans that are taking machines from Michigan and making them work. That's what Ohioans do. I'm sure it's great equipment, but this is. I'm sure it's great equipment, but this is what Ohioans do. We make things. We're good at manufacturing things here in this state, and we make things that supply the world. And instead of relying on China, we're going to make our own, and that kind of resiliency and that kind of determination is what sets Ohio apart. It's great that you all are willing to step up and help make sure that our elections officials are going to have the masks that they need and that our voters are going to have the masks that they need. We've been making it very clear that we need to recruit 35,000 poll workers to work the polls on Election Day. And to keep the military analogy going, that's like 2 infantry divisions worth of poll workers. I mean, it's a big mobilization of people that it takes to run Election Day. And I've been telling voters that, you know, when you show up at your voting location on Tuesday, November 3rd, you're going to see a smiling face there to greet you. You just won't see them smiling because there'll be a mask on, because we're going to be making sure that every elections official that's working the polls on Election Day has a mask on. And we're also making sure that any voter that shows up that doesn't have a mask on is offered one, so that we can create that healthy environment for everybody, because no Ohioan should be afraid to come and vote. Of course, we have great options here in the state, and so I want to make it clear that those same 3 options that we've had in Ohio for close to 2 decades are going to be available. You'll have 4 weeks of absentee voting, where if you choose to, you can vote from the comfort of home. You're going to have 4 weeks of early voting, where you can come to your Board of Elections or the local elections office and cast your ballot, including evening and weekend hours. And by the way, these over 400,000 masks that are being provided today will be part of that, making sure that those early voting locations are properly equipped as well. And then if you wait until November 3rd, the polls are going to open at 6:30 a.m. and they're going to close at 7:30 p.m. and you're going to have the opportunity to safely cast your ballot. And so just want to make sure that the message goes out loud and clear that masks are required at Ohio polling locations. They're required for both our elections officials and they're required for the voters to come. And this generous donation today by Justin and his team at RB Sigma is making that happen. Please make sure that you vote. Please make sure that you register to vote. Please make sure that you sign up to be a poll worker. That can be done at voteohio.gov. Voteohio.gov is our website, and it's the place where you can not only get registered to vote, but also sign up to be a poll worker and get any information you need, by the way, including going there to print the form to request your absentee ballot. Now, as much as I'm proud to serve as Ohio's Chief Elections Officer, I don't actually run elections. The real work of running elections happens at 88 county boards of elections where you've got these bipartisan teams that come together to do this really difficult work. It was these bipartisan teams that we asked several weeks ago, hey, if we can get you some masks, how many do you need? And so they put their orders in through us, and Justin and his team are fulfilling that. And it's an amazing thing that you're doing to help make sure that we can have a safe election. But one of those great elections officials is Dale Fellows, who works here as a member of the Board of Elections in Lake County. He was recognized by his colleagues all around the state as their elections official of the year. And so, ladies and gentlemen, a great elections leader for Ohio, Dale Fellows.
Thank you, and what a great day this is. Justin, amazing what you're doing for us. I appreciate it very much. And the leadership of our Secretary of State is phenomenal in being able to get us through this pandemic. And the Congressman, oh my gosh, what a great support he is to everybody in Northeast Ohio, and our Senator John Eklund at the State House. My gosh, we've got just a great group of folks. And our director is Ross McDonald, and our deputy director is Jan Clare. They're the ones that really make this happen in Lake County. And, you know, our number one priority as elections officials is to make sure that everyone has the right to vote and votes in a safe environment. So without a doubt, that's what all of us throughout the state of Ohio are doing, all 88 counties, all directors, deputy directors, board members, and staff. And let me tell you, some of the things that we're doing on behalf of the voters and our staff especially. One, we're recruiting, as the Secretary of State 35,000 poll workers we need on election day, almost 1,000 right here in Lake County alone. But it also takes that seasonal staff as well as our regular staff to be here as well on a regular basis for several months leading up to election day. The old joke was that we only work 2 days a year, right? Well, that's not true. I invite anyway, especially the media, to come in and see what we have to do each and every day and how many long days there are. But these masks are a key component to what our safety roles are going to be and protocols are going to be throughout this whole time between now and election day for our staff, our seasonal workers, and then on election day, our poll workers. In addition to that, we're looking to try and get face shields as well for those who want those. Plexi shields in our boards of elections and hopefully even maybe at our polling locations. Those are just some of the things. We're working with our staff to be careful in what they do outside of working hours, to making sure that they understand how essential they are and making sure that they're safe and their families are safe and then we're safe. We're doing things like at the Board of Elections for us, we're doing split shifts like we did in the spring to make sure that if, heaven forbid, somebody got that, we've got other shifts that are working and making sure that the process continues. I've got a laundry list of things that we're also doing, making sure that we are using disposable styluses to make sure that when you're voting on our machines that you don't even have to touch the machine. You have a disposable stylus. Some people call it a Q-tip. And it actually works. Obviously, the social distancing that we're going to be doing leading up to, as the Secretary of State said, we're going to be open from October 6th on, and some weekends and some late evenings. That is one of the components that I found out that people don't really realize, that that's one of the parts of voting that people forget about. Everyone thinks it's just mail and Election Day. Well, no, you can go in and vote in person from starting October 6th during the week, and then those last 2 Saturdays and the weekends, and some late hours as well. So make sure people take care or know that and take advantage of that situation. We're going to be wiping down everything. After everybody's use, every machine is going to be wiped down. We're obviously using the face masks, and which is, again, huge donation here. Our check-in tablets are going to be wiped down at every point. Disinfectant, hand sanitizer, every place, soap, additional masks as we talked about, one-way traffic flow wherever we can in those polling locations. Curbside is going to be available for folks who believe that they would rather vote there. Of course, curbside has been something that voters have had the ability to do in the past. So the list goes on and on about how we are making preparations to make sure that Election Day is safe and that every single voter that's eligible to vote comes out to the polls and votes on Election Day. And our staff, as well as all the staffs throughout the state of Ohio, are coming up with different ideas that work in their counties, different ways to do it, working in partnership with the private sector and the public sector at the polling locations to make sure everything is safe and proper and the protocols are followed, and that we have a wonderful Election Day in Ohio and everybody comes out to vote. And that's our goal, is to make sure that everyone gets a chance to vote on Election Day or before. So I'm proud to be here as a Lake Countyan and proud to be here as a state of Ohio and a Golden Flash. Go Kent State.
Well, as you could hear, Dale was laying out the safe and secure environment that we're going to have. It's a 48-point checklist that we sent the county boards of elections, and everybody should feel comfortable and safe coming to vote. Justin?
All right. On behalf of RB Sigma, I'd like to present the donation to the state of Ohio. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. God bless. I guess I should offer, if any of the members of the press have any questions, I guess I'd be happy to answer them at this time.
I don't understand absentee versus mail-in ballot.
Yeah.
Can you explain that to someone like me?
Yeah, so we've used the two terms interchangeably for years because in Ohio, the only way to vote absentee is, or the only mail-in voting that we have is absentee voting. And so we've used those two terms interchangeably because when Ohioans vote absentee, most often they mail it in. Of course, you can drop it off too at the Board of Elections, and every Board of Elections in the state now has a secure 24-hour drop box available that people could take advantage of, and that's a thing that's a big improvement actually just in the last year. But the distinction that the president has made with this is that when he talks about absentee voting, that's a process where you request a ballot and then one is mailed to you. And when he talks about mail-in voting, what he's really talking about is universal mail-in voting, which is a system like they've had for a long time in Oregon, Washington, Colorado, Utah. Now they have it in Nevada and California, I believe, where everybody is mailed a ballot whether they requested one or not. And so, again, that may confuse some people, but in Ohio what we have is an absentee process. It's a two-step process. You have to request your ballot, but once you do, you'll get it mailed starting October 6th by the Board of Elections. And I should say that we're mailing an absentee ballot request form to every registered voter in the state. Those roll out just in the next couple of weeks, right around Labor Day weekend, 7.8 million of them. And again, thanks to the General Assembly for authorizing the funding of that, and thanks to the federal government for granting us that money, because it's CARES Act dollars that we're using to fund that absentee ballot request mailing program that every Ohioan is going to see in their mailbox soon. Yes, sir.
You support the idea of providing extra drop-off points for counties for voters for absentee voting,
Yeah.
or just the one at the board elections?
Yeah, so I've always been supportive of the idea of adding extra drop boxes. What you need, though, is the legal underpinning, the legal authority to do that, and I don't have that. That's authority that can only come through the General Assembly, in my opinion. What we have done is we've provided one drop box at every county board of elections. Now, just think about this. 6 months ago, there were only 2 or 3 in the whole state. Now there are 88. Every county board of elections has one. That's a big improvement. We could add more drop boxes, but again, that would require a change in law. Really, my proposed solution, and this is something I've been saying since April, is what I'd like to do is provide absentee ballot envelopes with paid postage on. We did that in the spring primary. I think we can do it again, but it requires controlling board authority through the state legislature. And if we had that absentee ballot envelope with paid postage on it, then it would be a simple matter of dropping your envelope in any post office, any postal box in the state. You wouldn't have to go find the special drop box at the library or whatever else. Other questions? I'll step out of the way here.
Yes, sir.
Do you support the idea of adding legislation or additional drop boxes?
Say it again.
If the state plans to pass legislation to allow more drop boxes, would you be in support of that?
Yes, I would be in support of that. I think that there are many counties, bigger counties in particular, where getting to the Board of Elections, for example, to cast an early ballot or to drop off your absentee ballot can be a real challenge. And so I see all kinds of good voter participation benefits that could come from, in Lake County, for example, instead of just having the Board of Elections here in Painesville, if you had a place in Willoughby and maybe one out in far eastern Lake County, so that people wouldn't have to necessarily travel halfway across God's half acre in order to vote early. So I would support that, yes.
Any further questions? All right. Thank you so much, everybody. Take care.
This is actually very I know a lot of photos, so this one's a perfect photo. Okay. It's one of the newer ones that came out right now, the G5. Hey guys, we're going to do a little tour. If you want to grab some B-roll, you're more than welcome to.